Good morning and welcome to Paul T's World. And in this video we're going to take hardwood cuttings. Winter is the best time to take these cuttings, any time from late autumn to early spring. The beauty of hardwood cuttings is they are hardly any maintenance. First of all, let's just see what shrubs are suitable for hardwood cuttings. Well, in fact, just about any of the flowering shrubs are suitable. This is a deutzia. I've deliberately left these long canes. This is the growth from last year, and this is the growth we want to use for the cuttings. This is a lilac, a Kim. I think we could have a go with that one as well. And we also have a Philadelphus here. These canes are indeed from last year, but they're rather thin. I don't think they will be that suitable, so I'm going to have a look at some of my other Philadelphus. This is a Philadelphus in the front garden. Here's some new wood from last year. That's a decent size for a hardwood cutting. Pencil size is what we want. Oh, and here's another one. This would be good. There we are. Flowering currant will take readily. And one of the easiest of all are the Weigelas. I've got a number of Weigelas in the garden, so let's just have a look at which canes might be suitable for taking the cuttings. I've deliberately left these long canes here so we can do some cuttings. And we have another Weigela, a large white one here in the corner of the garden. Nice canes from last year's growth. That's this one here. And this one. Older wood is less suitable for hardwood cuttings. It's last year's growth from last summer that we want. I'll just cut it from just below a node. So I'll just cut this square across the bottom, just below a node. Square across there like that. So the deutzias. There are some nice stems here from this Philadelphus. It's really important to label the cuttings even before you start. It's so easy to forget which are which. This one here is the deutzia. So let's just quickly make a label. Then I went over to the Weigela. In fact, that's the red Weigela. And this one here is the white Weigela. There we are, so at least we can now recognise them. We'll do the deutzia first. Simply take a square cut across the bottom, just below the leaf node, and then an angled cutting at the top. I'll just get rid of these buds. It's actually coming to bud quite early. There we are, there's the first one. Here's this Weigela. Don't want to use the top bit, so I'll probably start off about here. Slanting cut at the top. I simply take a slanting cut so that I know which way is up and which way is down. I'll do a square one across the bottom. And there's another cutting. Slanting cut across the top. Square one across the bottom. Just got two nodes here, one at the bottom and one at the top. I prefer more nodes, but I'll use that. That one's too thin. You want it pencil thickness. So I'll discard that. This one will be okay. So that's the red Weigela. I scar the bottom of some of the stems where the roots will appear. It's not necessary, but can help. I also like to cover the base in hormone rooting powder. You don't have to, but if you have rooting hormone, try it. This year I'm putting the cuttings into pots, tall pots. I'm using 3 different mediums this year: 100% free draining soil, 100% vermiculite, and the third 50-50, 50% vermiculite and 50% soil. I'm trying to cover all bases here. It's not critical what you use, but I would say a medium which drains but also retains moisture, if that's not too much of a contradiction in terms, of course. Sand would also be good, maybe not clay. I want to have most of the cutting and at least 2 nodes in the soil, with 1 node above the potting medium. This is a cheap and low maintenance method of propagation, so take plenty of cuttings and experiment both with the soil and where you place the pots. To save space, you can cram the cuttings very close together. Some people actually bundle them together tightly, and certainly closer than I'm doing. They can then be shaken apart once the roots have formed. I do recommend not mixing the shrubs. Only 1 type of shrub per pot, as they will root at different times and you don't want to disturb cuttings that are not ready. That's a mistake I made last year. I put 3 different shrub cuttings in 1 pot and found it tricky to get out the ones that have rooted while leaving in the ones that weren't ready. These are some of the cuttings I did last year, so these are a year old. I potted them into 9 centimetre or 3.5 inch square pots in the early summer and then repotted into bigger pots in early autumn. They'll be ready to be planted out now in March or April of this year. This is a Philadelphus from the shrub at the back of the pond, roots starting to show at the base, new buds starting already. Another Philadelphus, this time from one in the front garden. Oops-a-daisy, this label has weathered a little bit. Maybe the marker pen I used was not quite as permanent as advertised. I think this one should have been repotted months ago into a bigger pot. Now back to this year's cuttings. I'm simply going to put them at the side of the house, open to the elements. If it freezes again, I won't be concerned. That's the beauty of hardwood cuttings. If the shrub is hardy in your climate, then the hardwood cutting will be as well. I will give them an initial watering and then let the rain do the rest. If it does get dry over spring, which is unusual in Britain, I'll water them. And that's all there is to it for doing hardwood cuttings. As you can see, I've done 3 different varieties and I've used 3 different types of soil. You could do anything. You could do it in sand, normal compost, or just put them straight in the garden. There is nothing to lose. I don't expect a large percentage of these will take, but I would expect maybe 4 or 5, at least some from each. Now, I must say I have chosen the easiest ones, the Weigelas, Philadelphus, Forsythia, Flowering Currant, the Deutzias. So have a go, and now is, if you're in Britain, now is the time to do it. Once March comes round, they're starting to grow again, and indeed some of them have got buds already. If you have a harsher climate, then you might well want to wait until March. You don't really want to do this when it's totally freezing. But if the temperatures start to rise above freezing, then yeah, take your hardwood cuttings. And it doesn't really matter if it then goes to below freezing for a night or 2. Of course, you could do it in late autumn. I prefer to do it at the end of winter. Rather than them being outside all winter, which they can do, I do it now, and spring is just round the corner. And I'll see you next time in Paul T's World. Bye.